Hi, I'm Paul Guppy, Vice President with the Washington Policy Center, and this is our regular update that we send out to our members across the state to let you know what activities we are doing and the key issues that we're working on and what we see coming up for our state. So first off, we are excited, as everyone is across the state, to be returning to normal operations, normal social gatherings, and we are beginning to host a range of live events that we will be doing in person, that is, for the rest of this year. And those are shown under the events tab on our website at washingtonpolicy.org. And in particular, we are excited because our young professionals group is beginning to hold in-person events. We hosted our regular summer hike this year with Todd Myers talking about environmental issues. That was up in the Snoqualmie Pass, Cascade Mountains area. That was a big success. And we have a young professionals summer social being held both in the Seattle area and in different parts of the state. So if you want to find out more about that, you can look on our website. The other thing is that we are still active on a range of issues. Again, like a lot of organizations, we had to adjust our operations, but our researchers have been tracking key issues, followed all through the legislative session, which was done entirely online. And then now that the politics of our state, again, is returning to live events and normal activities, we're engaged with that as well. But we had such a good response when we did shift to doing online events on Facebook or over Zoom, that we've heard from a lot of our supporters, and in fact, people from the general public, that they really like those events and they'd like them to continue. So we will be doing in-person events, but in addition, we're going to add more online events, and you'll be receiving notification about those as they come up. Those were really widely attended. In a way, we were able to have a couple of hundred people attending one of our briefings or events online, far more than might come to a local in-person event. So we'll continue to do that. On issues, Jason Mercier, our budget and tax expert, of course, is known across the state as the main expert on the income tax bill that the governor signed earlier this year, and then what's happening with the court challenge on that. So on our blog, you will see regular updates posted by Jason on what's happening with the state income tax legal challenge against the bill that the governor signed. And next up is the first court hearing in a legal challenge against it. The case is called, it's a group of citizens, Chris Quinn et al., a group of people, versus the Department of Revenue. That there will be a hearing coming up Wednesday, August 18th at 9:30 a.m. The hearing will be online, and so people will be able to get the connecting information and actually attend that hearing. And that will be held in Douglas County Superior Court with Judge Brian Huber. And that's encouraging to us as the first step in this legal process, because that court hearing is not going to be held in King County. So we think there's a better chance of just receiving a non-political and fair judicial review of this bill. Of course, it will eventually work its way to the state Supreme Court, and that court will have to make the ultimate decision about whether the income tax bill that Jay Inslee signed is constitutional in our state or not. Rob McKenna is the lead attorney challenging this law. And even I, as a non-lawyer, when I read the arguments for how it violates provisions of the state constitution, the legal argument appears to be obvious. There are already law professors who are commenting that this law should be struck down. But we will see what the courts do, and we'll continue to follow that process closely. Next issue, which is on everybody's mind, even all across the country, is critical race theory. So Governor Inslee signed 4 bills in April, which require the teaching of critical race theory in public colleges and universities, medical schools, and every K-12 public school throughout the state. So Lee Finna, our education expert, has been very active on that. And again, she is known as one of the lead independent voices in commenting about critical race theory and the impact that it has on kids, how it depresses children as they return to the classroom by adding this racial discrimination element, in addition to the academic subjects they're trying to learn. So Leave has approached this in a couple of ways. One is answering media inquiries about what critical race theory is, providing commentary and resources about it. But most importantly, she's taken a proactive approach, and we just released a study by her, which is called Know Your Rights. It's a quick summary, 6 pages, that simply summarizes what people's basic civil rights protections are that apply equally to everyone, whether it is the Washington State Constitution, the Washington State Civil Rights Act, federal civil rights laws, and she even cites international human rights laws. In each case, the citation shows that all people deserve to be treated equally and with non-discrimination, particularly by government. So she wanted to provide a core resource for parents, media, the general public. There are teachers, school board members who are contacting us and asking, what can they do about critical race theory being forced into their schools? And LEAVE is providing a resource for that, and we'll continue to follow it. One encouraging point is that the promoters of race-based discrimination and critical race theory are starting to shift their ground. So we see them denying that it's being taught in the schools, playing word games, talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and affirmative action. These are all code words that boil down to one substantive thing, and that is, should government officials judge people based on their appearance? It's just that simple. So no matter what shifting or terminology is used, LEAVE and the rest of Washington Policy Center is staying focused on the core principle that everybody should be treated equally. And we'll continue to follow that. Next issue is kind of a sleeper for most people, but again, the governor signed a bill passed in this last session, creating a brand new entitlement in our state, long-term care insurance coverage for everybody. There is an opt-out provision if you have private coverage. So a lot of people are trying to buy private insurance. That is becoming increasingly difficult. We think that, as often happens, the government will drive out the private market, and it will be almost impossible to buy long-term private healthcare insurance in our state. And in the meantime, this new program is being set up. The reason I say that it's a sleeper issue is that it is funded by a huge new payroll tax. So this tax kicks in on January 1st. The tax is 58 cents on every $100 of income earned, and there is no income cap. So thousands of people across the state, virtually everybody, is in for sticker shock when they discover that in January, a new tax is being taken on top of Medicaid, Social Security, payroll taxes, all the other taxes that come out of our paycheck, that there will be now a new tax. And it's not a small one. For most people, it will be hundreds or thousands of dollars a year. Elizabeth Hovde on our staff has been tracking this issue. She is responding to a huge amount of confusion that's out there among employers about how to administer this tax. But more interestingly, she is in touch with some lawmakers who have expressed an interest in repealing this program. So as has happened at the federal level and in other states, the legislature, in its enthusiasm, passes some grand entitlement program. It all sounds great on paper, but when the public finds out about it, there's a reaction. And so she is beginning to hear rumors that there are some lawmakers who want to introduce legislation in January to repeal this law. So we'll see how that progresses. And then the last item I'll touch on is something that's of concern to everyone, and that is rising inflation. So those of us of a certain age and older will well remember the Jimmy Carter years when inflation was rampant throughout the economy, along with high unemployment. And so we seem to be returning to that period. The administration in Washington, D.C. says that is not happening. The Federal Reserve is trying to assure everybody that inflation is not rising. But even the latest numbers show that the consumer price index rose by 5.4% in June. But more worrying for us as a policy organization is the producer price index, which is the wholesale prices that retailers have to pay in order to get supplies and goods. That index rose by 7.3% in June alone. So that indicates that there's a bow wave of rising prices coming, which we'll probably just see more of later this year. The reason that's important, not only for the cost of living for all of us, is that inflation acts like a new tax because it makes everything more expensive. And that is on top of a whole raft of new taxes that were passed by the Washington State Legislature in this last session. I've only touched on two, the income tax and the long-term care payroll tax, but they raised a gang of other taxes. And they're also looking at increasing the gas tax, and they created a cap and trade system and a low carbon fuel standard. These are all inflationary policies that will add to the organic inflation that's happening throughout the economy. That burden added together will begin to create economic stress for the rest of this year and as we get into the following year. So we'll continue to track that. And so that's our update on the issues right now. Our annual dinners are in set for October 1st at 7 p.m. in Bellevue, and in Spokane on October 15th, also at 7 p.m. at the Davenport Hotel. These will be in-person events, and we're already hearing a lot of excitement about them. People are making reservations and getting tickets. And so we are excited to get back together in live events. These dinners are well known across the state. We had to put it off and do it only online in 2020. And this year we are returning to full in-person events. So if you're able to make it, we hope that you'll come. Thank you very much.